I'm 22 years old and recently graduated from college. My family has lived in the same 3-story house since I was about 3 or 4. It's in a peaceful suburban neighborhood, the kind with tree-lined streets, big yards, and families who've lived there for years. The layout of the house is important. My bedroom is on the 2nd floor, and my window faces the street. My dad's home office is on the 3rd floor, and his only window also faces the street. The reason I'm finally sharing all this is because after what happened recently, I'm convinced something dark has been happening to my family for years, something we never understood. The first incident happened when I was still in middle school, over a decade ago. One morning, while walking downstairs for breakfast, I overheard my parents talking in the kitchen. I didn't catch everything, but I heard my dad saying that it happened again, and he sounded uneasy. When I asked what they were talking about, they brushed it off. A few days later, my older brother told me the truth. That night, my dad had been working late in his office, like he often did. Around midnight, he noticed a large Chevy Suburban slowly rolling down our street. Not slow like someone driving cautiously. Slow like the car was barely moving. It crept along, past our house, then minutes later came back the other way. Then it parked directly across the street from our house. My dad stared at it for several minutes, waiting for someone to step out. No one did. He went back to work but kept glancing at the window. The vehicle never moved. Eventually, around 2 a.m., he fell asleep at his desk. When he woke up around 5:30 in the morning, the car was still parked there in the exact same spot. Right before sunrise, it finally drove away. Later, my dad admitted this wasn't the first time he'd seen strange cars slowly driving back and forth at night, but it was the creepiest. At the time, we assumed it was nothing serious. Maybe someone sleeping in their car. Maybe someone casing houses. Years passed. Then when I was 15, something happened directly to me. I was in my room late one night making music. My desk sat right in front of my window, so I could always see the street. Out of nowhere, a flicker of light caught my attention. I looked up. There were at least 3 cars slowly moving down the road. But what froze me was the flashlights. People inside the cars were shining beams into houses. One light swept across my neighbor's home. Then it moved toward mine. I immediately ducked beneath the window. Seconds later, the flashlight beam lit up my ceiling, slowly scanning the room. After a moment, it disappeared. When I peeked back up, the cars were already turning at the end of the street and driving away. The next morning, I told my parents everything. We all agreed it was likely criminals checking houses to see who was home. My dad installed security cameras and motion lights all around the property. Not long after that, something even stranger happened. While workers were landscaping our backyard, one of them found a tiny hidden camera buried in a bush near the fence. It was no bigger than a key fob. The battery was dead, and there was no memory card or SIM inside, meaning whoever put it there had probably been watching a live feed nearby. We never figured out who placed it. The police were notified, but nothing came of it. Life went back to normal. For a while. A few years later, our neighbors moved out. Their house was empty only a short time before a young couple moved in. No kids, which felt odd considering how large the house was. Soon after, I started noticing something strange. Late at night or very early in the morning, I'd see them standing at their top floor window, staring into our backyard. Not sitting, always standing, just watching. I tried telling myself I was being paranoid. Until one night while walking my dog, I glanced into their kitchen through a large bay window and saw them sitting at a table with a third person. The man stood out immediately. He was completely bald, very muscular, and had thick, heavy eyebrows. As soon as I noticed them, the woman quickly walked over and pulled the curtain shut. She didn't look outside, just closed them fast like she knew I was there. Years later, my family traveled to Paris. One night, we were all sitting in a bar together. I was halfway through my drink when I glanced across the room. A man was sitting alone in a booth. And instantly, I recognized him. It was the same bald man from my neighbor's house. My stomach dropped. There was no way. The odds were impossible. I stared. He looked up. Our eyes locked. And in that moment, I knew he recognized me too. Without finishing his drink, he stood up and walked away. I tried following him but lost him in the crowd. A few days later, while sightseeing, I saw him again. Standing nearby, holding a professional camera. It looked like he was taking photos in our direction, though there was a monument behind us. Then he turned a corner and vanished. I finally told my parents everything. My dad believed me immediately. The rest of the trip felt tense and wrong. When we returned home, my dad checked all the security footage. Nothing showed up, but I knew. Someone had been watching us for years, and I felt like things weren't over. Not long after all this, I went for a night hike near Angel National Forest. I've hiked there for years and know the trails well. That night, thick fog rolled in. Visibility dropped to maybe 20 feet. I noticed strange smells along the trail. First, something floral, like perfume, then campfire smoke. Then a familiar earthy scent I couldn't place. Each one vanished quickly. Later, I saw a flashlight beam on a ridge far above the trail, a place with no access. Someone was up there. I could hear whistling. I turned off my music. Eventually, I reached the lookout point. Sitting on a rock was a small stone sculpture. I knew instantly something was wrong. I turned back. Suddenly, fast footsteps charged toward me through the fog. They stopped inches away. But I couldn't see anyone. Silence. I pulled out my knife. Nothing happened. When I finally started walking back, I kept hearing footsteps following me. Then something crashed through the bushes behind me. I panicked and ran. Something chased me all the way back to my car. I didn't hike again for months. Years earlier, during my parents' divorce, I stayed with my great-aunt Lucy in Vermont. She lived in a large Victorian house turned into apartments. She avoided certain rooms. At night, I heard footsteps pacing in the empty apartment above us. She insisted no one lived there. But when we checked, I saw fresh scuff marks across the floor, like someone walked back and forth repeatedly. One night, I saw a faint light moving upstairs. Later, I learned someone had died there years ago under mysterious circumstances. My family knew something about it but never told me. To this day, I don't believe in ghosts. But I know something wasn't right. And I'm convinced some mysteries are never meant to be explained.